Namaste. Adi Shankara was an intellectual genius. He was a profound philosopher, an infallible logician, a matchless preacher, and a gifted poet. He was also a religious reformer. Let's celebrate, you and I, for the next 15 minutes, his birthday by first understanding what significance Shankara's role has amongst truth seekers, irrespective of creed or religion, and also his impact within the Indian culture and worldwide. For this, we'll go back in time from whence the Vedas were written. This way, we will see how without Shankara, the question of what is the highest goal in life and how do I discern falsehood from truth, that would have probably remained elusive today. The Vedas contain mantras, and they came to the rishis spontaneously. They came because of the natural recognition of the Lord to be the essence behind all sentient creatures and insentient elements, meaning they came as a result of inner knowledge of Aham Brahman Asmi, which joyously expressed itself in the form of devotional mantras. For example, the rise of the sun was known to be clearly a manifestation of Ishvara, Aditya Devata, and so was the dawn, a manifestation of divinity. Summer heat, pouring rains, the cold of winter, changing seasons, all of this became vehicles to devotion to Ekam Sat, the one being, the one reality, the one substance, the one reality manifesting itself in many through its three guna shakti called Maya. However, this spiritual outpouring didn't last, as with anything that is time-bound. Because why? Of yuga progressions and raja guna predominance. In other words, the extroversion of the antahkarana, the mind started to go outwards. Thus the emphasis tilted towards the multiplicity of devas and devatas. Thus they became the objects of reverence and fear. Meaning, originally, the manifold manifestations or gods were understood to be various aspects of the one final reality. This means, through the course of time, the Veda mantras were effects of a mind deeply established in Atma Jnanam. And now, those same mantras became a cause for propitiating and begging gods to provide protection and fulfill our personal raga dvesha. For example, O Lord, save me from calamities, marry off my daughter to the right companion, make our crops grow, ensure our family's welfare, fulfill my desires, and so on. The question is, how do we propitiate the celestial gods with earthly gifts? The answer is through sacrifices or yajnas. Specifically, the holy fire became a messenger or a carrier to oblations or for oblations to the gods. Meaning, we first invoke Agni, and then we say, please take this to Indra, to Yama, to Varuna, etc. And then we close with a suffix Swaha. In other words, the focus shifted from the one to the many, from universal to external or material. Consequently, these mantras were now utilized for offering oblations in the sacred fire for propitiating multiplicity of gods for our earthly satisfaction. And the climax of this ritualism came when even living beings were now being sacrificed, believing to be appeasing a particular deva. In fact, we have stories of this in the Purana. And in the era of climax of such sacrifices was when Gautama Buddha was born, who proclaimed that these gods did not exist at all, which was necessary to a certain extent to stop the sacrificial insanity and to seize the ahimsa, which was disguised as himsa, to seize the adharma, which was masquerading as dharma. In other words, Buddha placed emphasis on the psychology, the inner mind. And he made such statements as, the world is made by the mind, it's a projection of our ideas, and even these gods you pray to are but a notion in your buddhi. Unfortunately, soon after Buddha's passing, the followers began to take or interpret this too literally and according to their own biased views. And it's exactly what happened to the Veda mantras, which means they originally started off as devotion stemming from an inner recognition of Atma, and then through the course of time, through misinterpretation, they became mechanical, sacrificial ritualisms. And thus the followers of Buddhism exclaimed, gods do not exist at all. World is only an idea. And this principle, amongst other Buddha teachings, was further split into 4 streams. And parallel to Buddhism were approximately 72 competing religions or philosophies, at least per my research. So this means there was little peace in reference to non-negatable universal truth. As a result, superstition and bigotry continued to prevail even after Buddhism was introduced. Some systems before Shankara's birth were, for example, Charvaka, Lokayatika, Kapalika, Sankhya, Buddhism, Yoga, Shaiva, Bharaiva, etc. Once again, a shining light in India was needed, which would restore unity, pacify the minds, and restore Shastric Vedic Dharma. And this was only possible through the weapon of knowledge, which was meant to slay the falsehood disguised as truth, and to also correct incomplete philosophies. And to forge such a weapon, and to wield it with efficacy, in 1788, at least that is one of the dates that we have for Shankara, Adi Shankaracharya was born. And he left home, how? As some of us know, in a spirit of renunciation, an aspiration to realize the reality. How old was he? Tender age of 8. His guru was Swami Govinda Bhagavad-pada, who was the disciple of Gaudapada, who is also the author of the Mandukya Karika. And he met his guru, that is Shankara, in a hermitage in Badrinath in the Himalayas. So Govinda asked the boy who he was. And what did Shankara say? He said, "O revered guru, I am neither the fire, nor the air, nor the earth. I am none of these elements. I am the immortal Atma, the Self, hidden in all names and forms." He then said, "I am the son of Shiva Guru. I am a Brahmin of Kerala. My father died in my childhood. I was brought up by my mother. I studied the Vedas, I studied the Shastras. I took apat sannyasa when a crocodile caught my foot in a river, and kindly thus initiate me formally into the holy order of sannyasa." Govinda, who was very pleased with his truthful narration, thus initiated Shankara into the Paramahamsa, which is the highest order of sannyasa. And during the Shankara's 32 years, he accomplished what is known as Digvijaya Krama. In other words, the conquest of the quarters. And he carried the banner of Advaita Vedanta, which is a methodology to help remove false beginningless era and thus reveal the permanent unchanging reality. He proceeded to the 4 corners of India and overcame all lesser schools of philosophy through immaculate convincing, through irrefutable arguments and impeccable logic. For example, he corrected the extremities within the adulterated forms of Buddhistic idealism. For example, he said, it is not true that the world is created by our ideas. However, it is true that our ideas do have some reality onto the world. In Vedanta, we know this to be called pratibhasika. He said, it is not true that objects are physical in their nature. Although it is true that objects have a certain physicality independent of human thought. This we know to be called vyavaharika. It is not true that nothing exists, as the nihilists would say. However, it is true reality does not exist as it appears to the senses. Therefore, nuances like this had to be clarified, and such was the mission of Shankaracharya, without which 72 points of views which reigned supreme back then would probably have done so today, which means that our Vedic Dharma, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutra would have been overshadowed by these competing views. So let's close with asking, what is the quintessence of Advaita Vedanta as expounded by Shankara? It is to discover and consistently abide in our eternal identity as our eternal identity, Atma, the Self. And also to intelligently reject the error of thinking that the Self is a finite human being with a name and form, with a beginning and an end, and that is subject to consistent changes such as birth, disease, old age, decay, joys, sorrow, emotions, memories, thoughts about ourselves, thoughts about the world, thoughts about Vedanta. All of this has a beginning and end. And thus our duty is to consistently discern the changing from the non-changing. Atma, Anatma. Therefore, may the grace of the Lord grant us success in persisting with our sadhana or Atma Vichara. And may He grant us the strength to resist the ongoing pull of the lower mind, tempting us into adharma, into lust, into himsa. All of these provoke agitations and compromise our pursuit of moksha. Finally, let's sum up Shankara's teaching. What did he say? He said that Brahman alone is satyam, real. And this world, which does not exclude the very person that's looking at this, memories, thoughts, emotions, anything that can be known to oneself, that is also inclusive of what is unreal, mithya. Brahman alone is real, satyam. This world is mithya, unreal. The jiva, or the jiva's identity, is identical with Brahman. That means the identity that we think that we are, the body-mind complex, the truth of that identity is actually Brahman. How to discover this? This is the job of an acharya. And we can give an example of a snake in a rope, whereby the snake is superimposed on the rope. And this body-mind and the world, that means the Jagat, is seemingly superimposed on Brahman, or onto Atma, if we look at Brahman from the standpoint of the Jiva. Therefore, if you get knowledge of the rope, then the illusion of the snake will vanish. Similarly, if one removes ignorance of the snake body, mind, and the world, then they as though vanish. And what's left is that which was never away, the self. To close, finally, let us pay respect to Adi Shankara, you and I, in a form of a prayer. O revered Guru of Gurus, it is your loftiness, calmness, and firmness of the mind. It is the strong resolve by which you so elegantly answered all of the questions during those debates. It is the clearness of your written and spoken works that we revere, that inspires us. We thank you for all of the efforts that you have given, your commentaries, and the inspiration for both the Shishya and the Gurus shall continue to shine and inspire as long as the sun shines. Om Tat Sat. This is Andre. Hari Om.